Do you know what you want and you know that your goals are non-negotiable? And yet, with all of the hard work that you've been putting in, you still end up in a cycle of burnout. It is absolutely the worst. And the truth is, there's a key piece that's missing that's causing that burnout. And that's exactly what I want to share with you in this video. Knowing what you want is awesome. Knowing why you want it is great. But knowing about the motivation, about why you want what you want, is actually the path to putting you on the path of burnout or the path of creating the life of your dreams. And so that's exactly what I want to explore with you in today's video about the simple nervous system reset, the ability to change your beliefs and change the motivation on why you want what you want so that you feel incredible about pursuing and making your goals non-negotiable. So let's get started. I am really excited to share this with you. I have been wanting to put this out into the world for such a long time, and here we are. So, as I've said in other videos, let's start off correctly here. I want you to think about the big things that you want. Hand on the heart, feeling really excited about the idea of having the car, the travel, home where it's a sanctuary, tapping your card confidently, knowing that there's money in the bank, having that beautiful love life. Whatever you want is important to you. And now notice that you've been tolerating life without what you want. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about, okay, I know what I want, and yet I'm just having to tolerate life without it? Life's been putting responsibilities and obligations and all of this other adulting in front of me. It was like, okay, I just have to tolerate life without it. Well, it can bring up all sorts of feelings, right? Shame, judgment, frustration, anger, resentment, anxiety. Ugh, all of these emotions are sitting there and they're giving you a lot of information that you need to understand to be able to shift so that you're not tolerating life without what you want. So what if you're feeling frustrated? It's a feeling, right? Well, all of these limiting emotions, shame, guilt, judgment, hopelessness, burnout, I don't know if burnout's a feeling, but all of these here is restricting your energy. It is bringing your energy down into that scarcity thinking, the stuck, the fear, the lack, all those limitations. And so when you notice that you've been tolerating life without what you want, these limiting emotions are telling you that you have contained yourself in some way where you're either feeling burdened, feeling hurt, feeling into fear, maybe even manifesting in health issues that are keeping you stuck and keeping you in that old narrative. And I'm telling you, life is too short to live like this. So knowing that your emotions are information about your limitations, because on one hand, your intuition is saying, hey, live a rich life, want what you want so that you can have plenty to share with many. These emotions are telling you information that you need to listen in for. And definitely you can do something about it so these emotions are not holding you back from having the life that you want. As I've said in other videos, when you know what you want, when you make your goals non-negotiable, clear the resistance, the limiting beliefs, you're now the CEO of your life and you activate and accelerate that divine timing so things start to show up. Because your soul does not care how many lifetimes it takes for you to get this. So it can just be on that slow, steady incline. You can actually speed this up and say, okay, no, I'm ready to do the work and get those soul's lessons in this lifetime. I want to see the results. So for those who are manifesting in that financial freedom, the security, the health, the well-being, then our goal is to get you pursuing your passion with excitement. Our goal is to get you to have that authentic feelings of the joy, the appreciation, the love, the peace, the excitement and curiosity for what life has to bring to you. And I've got to say, this is not about faking it. This is about actually embodying these emotions so that there's just this calm energy about you that's like, yeah, how can this get any better? So your feelings reveal if you are feeling empowered, if you're living in an empowered way, or if you are giving your power away. Those limiting emotions are questions waiting to be answered. And those questions are about why you're handing your power away. Let me tell you more. Now, there is definitely a difference between the emotional response and feelings. And yes, it definitely matters when it comes to manifesting and making your goals non-negotiable. These are all my beautiful babies 20 years ago when they were little. You've got to know when you're on that path to have the car, to have the home as a sanctuary, to have the travel, to have the job of your dreams, whatever it is, and you notice like, okay, these are the things that I want, but I'm tolerating life without it. Your emotions is the body speaking first. Your emotions is what's happening before you're even logically aware of like what's dropping your energy. So you may see something, you may go to work, see your boss in an aggro mood or something, you see it, your body now responds to it with that frustration or the anxiety. And whether you do that with the sweaty palms, the tightness, the gut clenching, the adrenaline running, your body is speaking to you first. And then what happens is the feelings come in. This is our mind labeling the response that you just had. And anybody could label it or name it to be I'm feeling guilty or I'm feeling frustrated. So the body speaks first and then the feelings. Hmm. This is important, guys. If you are, there's the five senses, you're responding to the outside reality. You might see something externally, see something that you adore. Now your heart is racing with excitement, and your mind actually names it like, oh, I'm feeling in love. Can go in the negative. You know, I hear someone being loud. I hear my boss or my partner being loud. My gut feels sick to my stomach. And now I'm labeling that not enough or feeling like shame or feeling whatever you're feeling. So with this, your energy has dropped into all of these limiting emotions. You're now in that scarcity or that survival mode. Something outside of you has caused you to drop your energy and give your power away. So what are you responding to that's causing you to drop your energy? Think about it. With all of these examples, your five senses are picking up on something. You're seeing, hearing, feeling, sensing something outside of you. You may even say something to yourself, but you're still responding to something external there. Your body then speaks with an emotion. They get a headache, the racing heart, the wobbly legs, the need to rush off to the bathroom. And now your mind is going to name that feeling and it's going to say, yeah, okay, I'm feeling stressed right now. Or you have something amazing happen, like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling just so happy. This is that personal freedom because manifesting and creating what you want in life isn't just about thinking positive. It's actually about feeling truthfully, authentically, choosing intentionally what you're responding to and how this is shaping your experience. So, how do I know when clients have dropped down into this level of fear and scarcity and lack? Well, really easily, especially the way that I coach people, because I normally coach people through health issues to then shift that to have a rich life. Those dominant feelings of shame or not enoughness, those feelings of being stressed and being on edge is going to cause your body to respond by waking up tired. You may have food sensitivities. There's like stress and your stomach just like clenches. You could have IBS issues, bloating, constipation, depression, anxiety. I love to work with the autoimmune flare-up people, the chronic inflammation people, because this is telling me so much about how they're giving their power away. Their feelings or their limiting feelings don't stay quiet. Their body is screaming to get the attention so that they notice, okay, what's causing me to be fatigued, the illness or the pain. And if the people in their lives don't pay attention, don't consider that person like, okay, to lean in and to assist or to value them or to stop requiring them to hand their power away, the body is going to say, I'm not coping. As a quick example here, somebody who's got like a skin issue, like a rash, pimples, pimples not so much, but even a rash. We often think about if we sit on an aeroplane and somebody next to us has a rash on their elbows, our immune system and our nervous system naturally gets us to lean away. And so this is the body speaking for you. When you don't trust that your voice is going to be heard or considered or mattered, the body will let people know, I'm not coping. And of course, it's not about the stranger who you're sitting next to on the plane, but the people that you're interacting with on a daily basis. Yeah, there's something going on there within the power dynamic. Something like a gut issues like IBS and things like that. The gut nurtures and nourishes you. So if you're in a stressful environment, eating with people who want you to live up to their standards instead of lifting you up to your standards, if they're stressed and there's pressure to perform, to be perfect in all of the good things, with every mouthful that you take, you are taking in that stress. And by the time it gets to your stomach and the stomach's all tight, like, oh, I don't want to digest this. I don't want to digest this stress. I don't want to take this in anymore. And then it's like, whoop, I'm off to the bathroom. And this is the body letting you know that you can't stomach all of this shame. You can't keep stomaching and handing your power over to others to meet their expectations. At some point, someone has to turn it around for you. Anyway, I get all excited about this. So then the limiting emotions also leak into their decisions, their energy, their ability to receive. Even that example there of being at a stressful dinner table and not really trusting that people will see the true you. They'll want you, they'll require more, they'll change the goalposts. You stop trusting that support. And so then how do you actually ask for what you want? And then when we think about the big things that you want, how do you ask for that? If it's always been about perfectionism and not being able to trust other people's support and guidance and all of the good things. So when we're stuck in that survival mode, our finances are definitely going to reflect that, and scarcity is going to show up. And because of this not enoughness, then the universe will actually mirror that, or within the law of attraction, the law of frequency, you are going to attract what you believe about yourself. As you've heard me say in other videos, like this isn't about Santa and being good and then you get rewarded. This is about feeling good, and therefore life will attract or reflect that back to you. So if you've had issues there with money and asking for what you want, and there have been consequences to ask for what you want, you're going to keep money at bay because that way it keeps all of the other pressures away. So this is why we need to pay attention to our feelings, the not enoughness, why you're tolerating, suppressing, masking, forced positivity. This isn't going to create your manifestation. This isn't going to help you with the goals. And in fact, if you keep pushing and doing hard work and hustling, you are now on a path to burnout. And then you'll take even longer to recover. So disconnecting from your truth, disconnecting from what lights you up, handing your power over to others is causing you to manifest in more issues. So your limiting feelings, they are telling you that you have handed your power over. So again, they're restricting your energy, they're pulling you down into fear and scarcity and lack. And why? Why are they doing this? Because there's fear and then there's freedom, and you're manifesting one or the other, whether you know it or not. As children, we all have a need to belong and to survive. And so as adults, we have taken on what they taught us growing up, and we now take those lessons to be independent in the world, to navigate our life. If you are lucky enough to have really beautiful, healthy, secure parents or caregivers who modeled emotional boundaries or emotional safety, unconditional love, as a little one, you would have taken on the lesson that I matter. I'm allowed to take up space and I'm allowed to ask for what I want. Other carers who may have been stuck in their own scarcity patterns, they couldn't model safety because they didn't feel safe in this world themselves. There's that generational link, right? Of like, if you've had great grandparents in the war and like this world's not safe, and they teach that to their children and they teach that to their children, there's often this tanglement of fear and scarcity and lack that just gets handed down. And the little one will interpret that to say, okay, I have to earn, I have to be good enough to earn uh, and belong, that my needs are a burden. Now, growing up in a chaotic situation like that, children can't just leave. So, what they do is then they take on the belief about how they should be in this world to survive, to be a people pleaser or the responsible one. If your parents were loud and always, I don't know, really loud, maybe you were the invisible one. Maybe you were the smart one, the achiever, the one that got the reward. So then the stress at home was less, and they had, the good goal that you won at the sports festival to talk about. So you push and pursue to make yourself the smart one. Are you the rebellious one that calls people out on their nonsense and you get that reinforcement of how you should be by calling people out on their stuff? Maybe you're the hard worker, and when you did all the things to help mum and hard work and go out and chop firewood, or not little people doing that, but you know what I mean? Like if you're pushing to be the hard worker and celebrated for that, then this is going to be the roles that you take into adulthood. And as I've already said here, getting ahead of myself, from a child's perspective, it's a big, unpredictable world. You don't get the choice to just leave. So instead, you adapt, you learn to please, you learn to perform, you learn the shoulds. And when you continue to play these roles into adulthood, then they come at a cost. And that's what we're going to explore. So, as the example of the people pleaser, and you may be the achiever or the hard worker, but people pleaser, here we go. If I'm okay, I put myself second, I make it all about everybody else, make sure they're okay. I get to avoid conflict, but I'm safe, which is what the child wants. If I people please, I avoid confrontation. I now have connection, which is what the child wants. I avoid rejection. Ooh, can't be disowned. So now I feel in control. If I people please, I avoid what's right for me and I do what's right for you so that I'm valuable and you keep me close. Because to a child, the deepest fear is abandonment, disconnection, being disowned emotionally, not just physically. And so going a little bit deeper here, I avoid conflict, I avoid confrontation. When we have that potential threat of not belonging, that disconnect, it can feel really, really awful on our nervous system. So, as a people pleaser, they will learn to adapt to tend to other people's moods because as long as there's closeness and approval, I belong. And if we make it about them that they're okay, then I can be okay. And it's a brilliant survival strategy as a child. As an adult, it's exhausting. So, very quickly here, as a child, you may avoid, the disconnect, the chaos by, overextending yourself to be the people pleaser, to tidy the house, to be the third adult in the, to tend to your siblings, to prepare the meals so that you can soothe the adults. You can protect your siblings from the conflict. You can, again, grow up a lot faster than what your nervous system is ready for. But we do all of these things with the undercurrent of actually fear being in place, that if I don't do this, the consequence could be huge. And so what we did to avoid disconnection as a child becomes our shoulds that we carry into childhood. People pleasers, listen in. I should be easy. I should be helpful. I should never upset anyone. I should never ask for too much. And gosh, if I do, I feel guilty. And now I'm having to deal with other people's stuff. Like, oh, this belief of all of the shoulds that you were taught as a child into adulthood, this belief will keep you yeah, it'll hold you back. You'll feel the guilt, you'll feel the shame, you'll feel it. My question to you is, what if your beliefs are outdated? Well, your feelings are going to tell you, and this is how you can map it out. When you're feeling into that sense of shame, it's like, I don't measure up to your standards. The guilt, oh my gosh. Oh, I need to make sure things are fair and just, and I've done wrong by somebody else. The judgment, there's a comparison here. I'm not enough. The frustration, you are blocking what I want. The anger, I am powerless to get you to hear my needs. And that anger can come up in tears and it can come up in loudness. So anybody there that considers themselves people pleaser or an empath, you can still get angry with tears. You're just not doing it loudly. And even the feeling of like, yeah, you've hurt my feelings. Like I need somebody else to tend to my feelings. Like I need somebody to rescue me. We can see through these examples that you have now put yourself down and somebody else outside of you gets to dictate the approval, the acceptance, the validation. So anytime you're feeling into that sense of being shamed or shame, there's a perceived failure to measure up to other people's expectations. This is what I expect of you. Like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with me? This can be as simple as like, I expect you to get the A's in class or to hit that winning goal. Like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with me? Like, my parents are going to be upset. Yeah, it can go the other way. Thinking about my own experience, like there's shame if you're not a mum and you're not in a relationship. Oh my gosh, like you're not meeting up to our expectations. Like, oh, what if I don't want to be a wife and I don't want kids? They're somebody else's expectations that they're projecting. And I'm like, oh my gosh, to belong and not get disconnected from that, not to confront them, not to challenge them. Like, okay, I will live up to your expectations. And that's where the shame is kicking in. And this is where, as adults, it's like, why are you still handing your power over to other people? Like, judgment. Judgment is saying, okay, there is a set of rules that is right and wrong. And you will be checking in with yourself about, okay, what do I have to change about me so that I'm right, that I'm accepted by you? My question is, well, why are we looking to those people, to those rules, if they're making you so wrong that it's making your skin crawl? So thinking about somebody who might be bullied at school and it's like, oh, I just feel so judged for wearing what I'm wearing. And I'm like, what's going on with your relationship to belong that you'll change who you are to keep the peace? So this comes up with people with health issues like anorexia. This can come up with people with the fear of being judged. Trying to think of other, when it comes to how they limit themselves with money, how they limit themselves with travel, how they will overspend to make sure they look good enough so that they're not excluded. So they can't afford the good things that they want. But if they buy the thing that somebody else says is acceptable, it's like, okay, good. My nervous system says I belong. I'm like, how healthy is this dynamic? Anger. Anger always, 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 always follows powerlessness. Always, always follows powerlessness. If you're triggered to anger, slow down the movie of your mind and have a look at what was it? What was the limitation there just before the anger? Because the anger often stems from perceived powerlessness, that your needs aren't going to be considered, that people aren't going to know that you matter. That's why we see this on the road rage. It's like, yeah, like back off. It's like childhood stuff there where other insecure adults pushed your buttons and made you feel angry. And then once you got loud, they backed off. Or once you cried, they finally softened and tended to your needs. So the anger here is saying, hey, you're stepping in on my boundaries, you're stepping in on my territory. I'm feeling powerless here. You don't consider my needs. What do I need to do to change who I am to get you to either soften or back off? And so this is where we can shift that to say, okay, what's going on with your boundaries and your ability to trust that people will hear you so that you don't have to keep going to anger, so you don't have to keep dropping your energy. I talk about that one a lot. And then the hurt feelings. is waiting for somebody else to notice or intervene. That not that it's a victim or a sulky energy, but there's a belief here about being hurt and needing somebody else to tend and help and rescue. And I see this in adults when they're really hurt, upset, and they're waiting for somebody else to step in so that they get the closure or they get seen, so they get the help that they need. And you see this in relationship dynamics where they use this as a way of getting the person to come in closer. So this is always coming back to, like, again, that fear of belonging. So I often think of, like, if you're hurt, maybe stuck in a hole, like you need somebody else to put their hand in to reach to get you up. I was like, well, why don't you just grow up out of the hole? Like, why are you keeping yourself stuck and needing to be rescued? Like, what can we do to change things so that you can see eye to eye with the people in your world instead of having to make yourself. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. But again, we can see from all of these limiting feelings, giving your power away, because underneath that is the need to be accepted, to be approved of, and you'll stop following your own path to meet somebody else's agenda. You may not notice it logically, but your body does. And this is why you're experiencing those limiting emotions. Let me just sidestep for a little bit. If you are still doing these childhood patterns where you're making somebody else more important than you're going to keep manifesting in relationships where others take. That's part of their makeup. Because if you're getting your value and safety from how much you can give, you will attract in a taker. Somebody with emotional, healthy well-being will actually get the ick factor from somebody who's overgiving. They're like, oh, no, like this, like, I want a balanced relationship. This is not working. And so when you're in a state of needing to give and people please, you will attract in the takers. And then what happens with those takers is if that when you say, hey, what about me? What about my needs? They're like, you can't change the agenda here. Like, this is about me. And then you'll be fearful about whether they shame you or bad mouth you to other people. So then you'll give even more. So it gets you into a really yuck loop where you're sort of stuck in relationships longer than you want to be. And the only way to get some safety is to keep giving. And then that perpetuates the problem. Oh. So if you're always putting yourself second, we're like, okay, checking in here. What's going on with why you're putting yourself second, basically? What's causing that limitation that's stopping you from owning your self-worth? And the truth is that this is going to feel really, really, really familiar. You have a really good coping strategy for this. And so this is what I did when I was a child. It works when it'll work now. And I'm like, you want to keep attracting in relationships where there's a power imbalance, do this. And if do this, stay in the people pleasing, stay in the overgiving dynamic, if that's working for you. But then we come back to the original point, like, what do you want and what are you tolerating? And it's like, yeah, okay, this is not working. If your energy is dropping and you're doing that self-coaching or the journaling, you've gone into judgment or guilt or shame. Whose approval are you chasing? What roles are you performing? So what if they don't agree with you? Like, what's the consequence? What are you worried about? What would change if you trusted your inner authority over their expectations? So notice that we're not really looking at solving the limiting feeling and learning from the limiting feeling. What we're doing is we're looking at what caused you to drop your energy. What's the underlying motivation, the fear that if you don't do that, your mind is saying something else will be worse. Like, what's going on here? Because once you start to do the inner work and start to recognize, no, I put myself first, self-worth, head held high, feeling really good, being really neutral. If people want to try to push my buttons, it's like, well, that's a bit interesting. Like, I'm not taking on board the judgment of what's right or wrong. It's just, it is what it is. The guilt side of things, it's like, okay, there's values here. Like I value fairness, and if your version of fairness is different to mine, all good. But I'm not going to interact with interact with that if it doesn't work for me. So if we start to actually reflect on what's going on with the limiting emotions while you're handing your power away, you now come out of the shoulds of being a good girl, or should to tidy, or should to people please, or should to give, to keep the peace and belong. Now we're looking at it like we could. I could tidy the house, or I could make that meal, or I could do the thing. And I could do it either today or tomorrow, or I've got to tend to my needs first, and then I'm going to tend to like to be able to help you. Now you have the freedom to choose. Now you have the ease in your body. There's no tension in your jaw. The stomach's not getting tight. You're not in survival mode anymore. You get to tidy the house without being asked because you want to. You prepare meals or snacks to soothe somebody's mood, again, because you want to. You're keeping the noise levels down to support the calm because you want to, not out of fear of the consequences. You're mediating disputes with clarity and compassion. If your kids are going nuts, like, yeah, cool, like let's work this out because you want to, not because you're fearful of your husband waking up and yelling and the consequences of that. Like you're doing it because you've attracted in a cool, calm home where relationships in your home are respectful. And it's like, yeah, cool. Like let's do this together. And so when you're not operating from the limiting beliefs, then the limiting emotions, the fear, the guilt, the shame, your energy will start to magnetize the joy, the ability to receive. Even the simple and nourishing things like cleaning your home start to feel good. And this actually will be unfamiliar for your inner child. You may actually be currently waiting for things to get stressful. Like, oh, okay, when I'm stressed, I clean. And like, no, actually, like let's clean because because you feel good. And like, yeah, let's turn the music up and make it even better. So really quickly, let's link it back. You don't need to try all things. When you know what to focus on to get results, you know exactly where to begin. When you think about what are you tolerating, the messy linen cupboard, the messy garage, whatever it is, whatever you're tolerating right now, it's not about the cupboard. Underneath it is about the fear of asking for help, the fear of saying what you need, the fear of prioritizing you, the fear of being excluded, feelings of avoiding judgment or guilt that seem much harder to work through. Because my question to you is, if you're tolerating how things are now, how will you ask for help with the big things that you deeply want to desire and to manifest and create into your life? Because when you pay attention, take aligned action, and get results, then you start to shift your life. And in coaching, it looks like this. You're currently in that state of tolerating, I'm not enough. You go back to childhood to say, oh, isn't that interesting? Like, that was an interesting survival mechanism that you did. That when you felt like you weren't enough back then, you kept yourself small. Now we don't have to do that. We thank that little version of you, like, oh my gosh, they did an incredible job. And now they get to be free. And now you come back to looking at your goals, what you want, the home by the ocean, the incredible travel, business class, whatever you want. And it's like, yeah, cool. With my self-worth and feeling great and attracting in those opportunities, I'm feeling radiant. And it's like, yes, there's a vibrational match here. It starts to find you. The clients find you. The opportunities of like doing the podcast or the car or the whatever it is finds you. And then that's, of course, where things shift. And you may have seen me talk about this. When you say, like, yes, this is what I want, I'm willing to resolve those limitations, then the universe starts to accelerate your manifestation. You're no longer having to, wait and work through and da 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 da. You're working through it. You're attracting in what you want. And your intuition did its job to get you to want the good things that you want. You're no longer dropping your energy into limitations. You're now responding with clarity, saying yes to the things that you want that make you feel really good, grounded, self-led, putting rest first ahead of work, putting in the things that are important to you. Your health improves, your finances improve, everything starts to go your way. and you're pursuing passion, your passions and goals with excitement, and the people around you also get to relish in on those incredible results. So if this has stirred something deep within you, trust that. I invite you to subscribe so that there's more tools coming your way to be able to get what you want out of life. My library has a resource library there, or my website has a library of resources to be able to help you get the steps that you want with the freedom, the clarity, and the abundance. That's all there. Really easy to access. Don't have to push harder. You just need to know what to work on to get results. I'm Claire Chancellor. Thank you for listening in. Check in with your emotions, and I really look forward to our next conversation. Bye, guys.